Hi, this is Krista at The Secret Yarnery. Today we are doing a join as you go technique to join the last round of our treasure map popcorn granny squares to make this fabulous blanket. So my blanket is 8 squares long and 6 squares wide. I used 14 skeins of yarn just for the blanket, not including the border. And I will link how to do the squares themselves in the cards up above as well as in the description box below this video. So let's get started. So for this tutorial, I've just made squares of different colors, but of course you're welcome to do it as I did with all the same colors. You're going to want to start with one granny square completely finished. They can also be whatever size you want them to be, as many rounds as you want. I'm just doing 6-row granny squares. To count your rows, you just find the center and just count the popcorns going up on an angle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm doing 6 round treasure map popcorn grannies. For the next one that you're going to be joining, you want to stop at round 5, or round 5 is the last one you actually want to complete. So one completely finished and the next one completed on round 5. I've started round 6, so I've done my popcorn and my shells across, and I'm ready to popcorn my set of 5 double crochets, just the one side that I have completed. So this is what you want to do for your squares. And just turn that one into a popcorn and chain 2. 1 and 2. So get your completed granny and just put it above your workspace. We're going to be working into it. And we've done our popcorn and a chain 2 of the one side, the first side of our square of round 6. So now we're going to work into our spaces of this granny above. So that's why I keep it above and laying down nice and flat. So keep tension on your hook. You don't want a big loop of yarn like that. You kind of want to have it nice and tight. And I'll go down into that corner space of the square you've completed. Put your hook down and under. Grab that yarn and bring it up and through and slip stitch. You have to relax your yarn enough to get your hook through, but you also want it to be a bit small. And chain 2. 1, 2. So we did half of our corner before the slip stitch and half after. So chain 2, slip stitch, and chain 2. Now forget about the square you finished, just let it lay there. Wrap your yarn and we're going to do another popcorn into this corner. So now we're working on our side of the square we're joining, and we're just occasionally going to be slip stitching. So 1 popcorn into the square you're working on and chain 2. 1, 2. So all of our chains are kind of count in our corner section. So we're going to go right after that popcorn. Just put your hook down in. Get that yarn on your hook any which way you can. Back up to the top side. Keep your tension. Turn your hook and slip stitch. So no more chaining. We're just going to go down into the square we're working on and do our set of 3 double crochets, our shell. 2 and 3. Get everything laying flat again. Pull your hook back so you can see your work up above, and put your hook down in between in the next space, in between those sets of double crochets. And again, just slip stitch. So bring your yarn back up and turn your hook to slip stitch. Now let go of that square again. We don't need to hold it or anything. And jump over into your next space to do your next shell. There's 1, 2, and 3. Get everything laying flat and into the next space. Put your hook down, bring that yarn back up. Keep your tension, turn your hook and bring it through. So 1 little slip stitch. Wrap your yarn, 3 double crochets into the next space. Lay everything down flat. Find your next space, hook down, yarn up, turn your hook and slip stitch. 3 double crochets into your next space of the square you're working on. Everything laying down nice and flat. Put your hook back so you can see your next space and hook down into that next space. The yarn back up and through, slip stitch to join, and 3 double crochets into the next space. So we're just doing our last row and slip stitching in between. our 3 double crochets into the space. Pull your hook down so you can see the next spot, which is right in between that shell of 3 double crochets and the popcorn. Put your hook down, grab that yarn, bring it back up, and slip stitch to join. Now we're into our corner spot. So chain 2, 1 and 2. Wrap your yarn and popcorn into that corner space. There's our popcorn, and now we're going to do half of our corner. So chain 2, 1, 2. Pull your hook back, lay everything nice and flat, and we want to go into that corner space of the square we have completed. So hook down into that space, grab your yarn and bring it up, turn your hook to slip stitch. Chain 2 to finish your corner, 1, 2, and now turn your work. You can see your join is all nice and lined up, and just finish your square off. So we're going to jump straight in and do our popcorn and then just finish our square. So finish up this square and I will meet you for joining the next one. So our second square is complete. So we're just going to build our row out, doing the same thing as we did for this first join. We're just going to build an entire row. So the next one I'm going to join is this turquoise color. I finished the first side of round 6, done my popcorn and a chain 2. So same thing. Put the square you're joining up above. We'll be building row 6 on the square we're joining and joining to our completed square up above. So I've done my popcorn and my chain 2. Into the corner space of the square I've completed above. Slip stitch to join. And chain 2, 1, 2, just to finish our corner, and popcorn into that corner space of the square we're building. Chain 2, get everything laying down nice. Into that space right after the popcorn, slip stitch to join. Just remember to put your hook down into your work. And now no chaining, we're just going to build our shells. So 3 double crochets into the next space, and slip stitch into the space of the square we've completed. 3 double crochets into the space, everything laying flat. Hook back so you can see your space, and hook down into that next space. Slip stitch to join. Shell into the next space, so 3 double crochets in the square you're working on. Pull your work back and hook into the next space. So down from the top and bring that yarn up and through, slip stitch to join. 3 double crochets into the next space. Work back and hook down into that next space. Bring your yarn up, turn your hook to slip stitch. Into the last space, 3 double crochets. Right before that popcorn, hook down, yarn up, and slip stitch. Now for our corner, we start with a chain 2, 1, 2, and do that popcorn straight into the corner space. Chain 2, everything laying flat, and get your hook straight down into that corner space. Just up in this corner space of the square we have completed. Yarn on your hook, bring it through, and turn your hook to slip stitch. Chain 2 to finish that corner. Turn your work, and now finish off this square. So popcorn and just finish it off as you normally would. So pause the video and I'll meet you for our next square. So we have 3 squares joined. Now we're ready to start our second row. Of course, you'll join as many squares as you want for one side of your blanket, either the length or the width. And now we're going to start joining right down below. So it's pretty much the same as we did before. There's this one little trick to it, so I'll just show you that. And we started the same way, 5 rounds completed and one side of round 6. Popcorn with our chain 2 completed. So get that back on your hook. So we're not going to start our join to the square we're actually touching. We want to jump over kitty corner to the one next door. So we're joining into this space over here. So just put your hook down and slip stitch like usual. Chain 2 and finish that popcorn for this side. Chain 2, get everything laying nice and flat. pull your work back so you can see, and we're going to slip stitch right after that popcorn. Now keep going like you did for the other 2 joins. The only difference is where we started. We start by slip stitching to the corner, the kitty corner. So up and across. We want to always be joining across. So now finish up this join and this square, and I'll meet you for the next one. So now we're ready to join a corner join. We'll be joining on 2 sides. We're going to start the same way, 5 rounds completed and 1 side of round 6. So I've done my popcorn and my chain 2. So get your work situated above as we do. Apologize for the dog. He is fighting with himself in his bed. We're going to start our join in the opposite corner, so kitty corner. So put your hook down and slip stitch that new square way over there. Chain 2. And now do your popcorn. Chain 2. Get everything laying flat and pull your work back and put your hook down right after that popcorn and into the very first space. Bring your yarn back up and slip stitch. No chaining into the very next space after this popcorn down below. 1 shell of 3 double crochets. And now we're joining the exact same way as we did for the rest of our joins. Nothing changes until we get close to this corner. So just keep going, making your 3 double crochets into the square you're working on with a slip stitch into the space that corresponding up above, and I will meet you when we get close to this corner. So I've done my popcorn and my chain 2, and now we're going to go same kind of as our sides. We're going to go across. So we want to just put our hook down into this purple square, or the one opposite. Put your hook down, and you want to be using some tension. Grab that yarn any which way you can, whatever feels comfortable, and slip stitch. You want to have some tension on that yarn. You don't want to have it too loose. And chain 2. 1, 2. Now you can relax. Your chain will hold it in place, and turn your work so that where you are joining is up above. Wrap your yarn and just finish off this row. So popcorn, chain 2, 1 and 2. Get everything laying flat into the space right after the popcorn, slip stitch. And now keep going, doing your shells with a slip stitch to the corresponding space up above all the way, and finish off this square. So we have our 5 squares joined up. Now just keep going, building your rows across and then starting a new row down below until all your squares are joined up. You can see the join in the center, how it's nice and secure just because we kept going across. And that gives a really nice join. Even on the back of the squares, looks really great. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, share with your friends. I'd love to see how your treasure map popcorn grannies joined up together. You can upload them to our Facebook group, the Secret Yarnery Crochet Community, or tag me on Google, secretyarnery@gmail.com. So thanks so much for hanging out, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay hooked.